everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are packed up outside Starbucks. I've got myself a little iced coffee and I've also got myself some of their egg bites. Their egg bites are absolutely insane. Let me just show you them before we get into the preface of this video. I don't know if that's the right word. So I've got the spinach and red pepper ones. I'll leave the sins on the screen. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 4 sins for both of them. And they are boiling hot. This is what they look like. This is burning my hand. Yeah, they're really delicious. So if you're on the go, highly recommend those. Anyway, today's video is going to be all about my toilet anxiety, my anal fissure. I'm going to be talking about my experience, my tips, and I just want to put in a trigger warning here. I am going to be discussing anxiety, pain, therapy, medication, blood, doctors, hospital. I'm going to be talking about going to the toilet, so going for a poo, passing stool. I'm going to be talking about blood, pain, fainting, all things like that. If anything like that triggers you, please, this video isn't for you, because that is what it's going to be about. But if anybody's interested in hearing about toilet anxiety, if you don't know what it is, or if you think you may be suffering sort of the similar thing or anything that I can relate to, this video is kind of to, one, spread awareness for it because not many people know about it, 2, like I said, try and give as many tips as I can give out, and 3, ask for help. I'm at the point with my toilet anxiety now where it's not gotten any better, and if somebody out there has a miracle on what I can do to make it go away or how I can manage it better, then that again is the aim of the video. I asked you for questions over on my Instagram about it to kind of help me discuss it rather than me just like vomiting loads of words out. So I have asked for some questions on Instagram, so there are some specific questions. I have written down some notes so that I kind of cover everything that I want to cover, and then I will go on to the questions. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Please, like I said, if you've got any recommendations or if you're struggling, speak out. You're not alone. This is real. Toilet anxiety is real, and I know there are so many other anxieties in the world, so I'm just going to be touching on this one because it is the one that takes over my life on a daily basis, and if you struggle with it as well, you'll be 100% able to relate. It's going to be a little bit, not so much of an upbeat video, but I really want to discuss it and I really want to share my experience. So yeah, I can feel myself blabbing and blabbing and repeating, so let's just get straight into the video. Whenever I talk about toilet anxiety, people say to me, what is that? Is that when you go out in a public space or you're not in your home, is that when you can't go to the toilet? Like you know with some people, I think there are actually 2 different types of toilet anxieties. I think there's one, which this isn't the one that I have, but I think there's one where you struggle going to the toilet if you're not in your own toilet. So say for example, I've heard loads of stories in the past before where people have gone on holiday and they haven't been able to go to the toilet like for 2 weeks, and they're literally so constipated and they're so bloated because they're not in their own toilet. And I've heard people can't go to the toilet when they're at their friend's house, or if they're desperate and they try and go to use a public toilet, they can't go. I've heard that kind of toilet anxiety, but mine isn't that. Mine is, if I'm gonna explain it to somebody, I explain it like this. As soon as I leave the house and I am not in the proximity of a toilet being nearby and I get stuck, so say for example, right now I am absolutely fine. Yes, I'm not at home, but I am in my car and I know there is a Starbucks toilet right there. So for me, I'm not even thinking about the anxiety. But say for example, I got in the car now and I was driving on the M4 back to Bristol and traffic's ahead of me, I instantly panic. I go into what only I can describe you as hell. It's horrific. So for example, that means my toilet anxiety is when I'm in a situation where there isn't a toilet nearby or I can't access a toilet, I get so anxious and I work myself up so much, it then controls my bowels. Now, I'm not talking about needing a wee, I'm talking about needing a poo, and I'm talking about physically getting so anxious and worked up about it, I cannot control my bowels. Now, I've been to the doctor an abundance of times thinking it was to do with IBS or intolerances, things like that, but it's not, because when I'm in situations when there's a toilet nearby and I can access it, I don't need to go. But as soon as I'm in that situation where I'm stuck, or somebody tells me, oh, the toilets aren't in use today, I just go into utter panic. And no matter how many techniques I try and do, or how I try and distract myself, or even if there's just a little bit of traffic and I know it's probably only going to take an extra 10 minutes until I can get off of services, that whole 10 minutes I am literally holding on to try and not pass stall, to try and not go to the toilet. So that is how I explain it to people. Another massive trigger for me is holidays, like traveling. So, you know, like with holiday, I know I've spoken about this on my Instagram before, so it's probably a broken record if you've heard me talking about it before, but for those that haven't, if I am going on holiday and, you know, you go in the coach transfer from the airport to the hotel, and, you know, sometimes you're either in like a minibus or you're in a coach and there's no toilet, or the coach toilet doesn't work. I am an utter mess. Like, our holidays have to be based on how far the transfer is, and like it's just things like that the whole process going up to a holiday, I'll just be thinking about that. The whole airplane flight, the whole traveling there, you know, when people are normally excited and, you know, they get in the holiday mode, I'm not excited really until we are at the hotel, when I've done all of that traveling. And I think that's quite a common thing, like anxiety when it comes to traveling. But I'm not anxious about flying, I'm not anxious about anything like that. I'm simply anxious about trying not to poo myself on that hotel transfer, because that is another question people ask me. Where do you think this triggered from? Like, did something happen? How long have you had it? And I can't remember the day that it started happening to me. I really can't, because I feel like I've had it forever, because that's what it makes you feel like, because it's honestly one of the hardest things to live with. But when I speak to my parents about it, they said that when I was little, I don't know how old, but we were on the coach transfer. So again, it always kind of refers back to that, the coach transfers, and I needed the toilet, and my mum and I was like desperate to go for a poo, and my parents asked the coach driver, like, oh, is it okay if my daughter runs in, because there was loads of different hotel drop-offs and ours was the last one. And I don't think at that age I would have known that ours was the last one, and I don't think that would have caused me thinking. I think I genuinely needed the toilet. I don't know whether I was ill or something, had a dodgy belly, and was begging my parents to get the coachman to allow me to run into the lobby of the hotel, of the ones like before our ones, go to the toilet and then come back. But he said no, because obviously he was on a time strain, which I completely get. And so I actually had an accident, which I can't remember. It's not something that I remember and feel traumatised by or anything like that, but apparently that's what happened. And then when we got to the hotel, obviously my mum had to sort me out and stuff. So my mum thinks it stems from that, but like I said, I can't remember that happening. But sometimes with anxieties, they do just happen, and sometimes you don't need I guess a trauma, like you don't need a situation to create that trigger or trauma. So I don't know, it could be that, but yeah, I can't remember when it happened. But anyway, that's what my toilet anxiety is. Whenever I'm in a situation where I cannot go to the toilet, I instantly panic and make myself so anxious that I can, so it's all up in my head. I absolutely know it's all up in my head to start with. And when I've gone to see therapists about it before, they say to me, okay, so when you're in that situation where you're in traffic and you're panicking and you feel your belly gurgling and you feel like you're literally going to go to the toilet, when you get to the toilet you can't go. And I'm like, no, this is the thing, I am literally turtle-head, like I have to go, like if I don't get to that toilet there's going to be an accident. So yes, it starts off in my head, because I could be driving down the motorway listening to my music absolutely fine, not even thinking about it, and then as soon as I see traffic ahead of me and people putting on their hazards, belly instantly, it's an instant, oh my god, I'm gonna shit myself. Literally, that is it. But obviously I know that starts in my head, but where it's so strong in my head and I work myself up so much, it then obviously moves through to my body, and it moves through then to my bowels, and I just can't control it. And I've had numerous accidents, which is just the worst thing ever. Like, I'm 27, had to think then, and yeah, I've had accidents at my age, and it's really hard to live with. So if anyone can relate, that is what it is. And now I'm gonna talk about, so that's my toilet anxiety, and I've been to the doctors about it numerous of times, and like I said to you, I've been put on loads of different things. I've been put on IBS medication to see if that calms me down. I've been put on anxiety medication. I have, trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about anxiety medication and depression medications. I'm going to not pronounce these correctly, but I do just want to talk about them just because they're the tablets that I've tried and been on in the past. So I've been on sertraline, ciatraplam, I know I'm saying that wrong, fluoxetine, that's what I'm on at the moment. I've been on IBS tablets, what were they called? Mebeverine, I think it's called. Propranolol. What else have I done? So I've tried quite a lot of the anxiety medications because that is what always the doctor suggests when I tell them about it. So I've been on them, tried and tested those, and I think they help the situation. They most definitely don't get rid of it, because I know that's something that I need to work on, like therapy wise. But I think they might take the edge of it. Again, I'm the kind of person that if you were to tell me you're going to take a pill and it's going to make you feel better, I'll tell myself I feel better, even if that pill was like a sugar tablet. If someone says to me that pill is going to make you feel better, I probably will tell my head that I'm going to feel better, and that's kind of the way everything works in my head. So yeah, I take my anxiety medication and I rely on those heavily, because I think if I'm this bad on those medications, am I going to be 100% worse off of them? So yeah, I take those primarily for my anxiety, mainly my toilet anxiety, because I wouldn't say I'm an anxious person. I'm not anxious when it comes to social, like I'm obviously really chatty and I can hold a conversation with anyone. I love to go traveling, I love to do things. I think I'm pretty confident, so I don't think I'm an anxious person in everyday life. It is just mainly the toilet kind of situation. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. I have done CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, which I had through the NHS. It was a wait for it, but so grateful. Unfortunately for me, I didn't see any massive improvements. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about, you know, what we think it stemmed from, and my therapist said she reckons it stems from that incident when I was younger in the coach. She taught me loads of techniques like tapping, and whilst I'm in the traffic jams doing things, noticing things around me and things like that, and I try those to my best ability when I'm in that situation. I always do those, but it still is so strong of an anxiety in my head, it just takes over, and I am just a complete and utter mess when it happens. So yeah, for me, CBT hasn't been beneficial. I did the whole course, so this is where I'm reaching out. I'm going to ask for help if anybody knows of anything else. Loads of people have said to me in the past, hypnotherapy, definitely give that a go. So if anybody's got any hypnotherapy people they recommend, or anything really that you think could help me with this toilet anxiety and help everybody else that might be watching this suffering, please let me know, and I will do an updated video if I get some help which I find's been beneficial, and let you all know, obviously, because I would wish I could take this away from everybody that suffers it, because it's horrific. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm still very much suffering with it on a daily basis. It does take up my every single day. It's something I think of every single day. It's quite sad actually, but I do actually not ruin people's lives because of it, that's very dramatic, but it is something that gets in the way a lot, especially like things that should be fun. Oh my god. Things that should be fun and that I should want to do as a 27-year-old, like excursions on holiday and going on like events with work. I'll always say no because of the traveling, or the not knowing, is there going to be a coach on board, a toilet on board, or are the people going to mind if I need to pull over? And if, for example, I went on like a girls' trip, I wouldn't be present with the girls, as in like I wouldn't be like as excited in myself with the girls during the traveling, because I'm just constantly thinking about holding myself together. So then this leads me on to anal fissures. So where my anxiety got so bad, I just need to sip a second. I was almost not abusing, I think I shouldn't be using that word, but I was overusing Imodium to absolutely block down there, so there was no possible way I'd need to go to the toilet. And that somewhat worked, because in my head I was like, right, Chloe, you've taken Imodium, so therefore you've blocked, you know, your bowels. There was no way you could need to go to the toilet. So I was literally taking those every single day, any day that I'd be in the car, any day, even on holiday. Oh my god, I used to take them ridiculous amounts, which then obviously has caused me to be more constipated than anyone should be. And where I would stress so much about leaving the house, say if I hadn't been to the toilet before leaving the house that day, I'd be sat on that toilet squeezing until I gone to the toilet, forcing, straining, squeezing, sitting on the toilet, that's what that reminds me of, for literally hours, making myself go to the toilet. And I'd squeeze and I'd squeeze, and I'd get a numb bum from like sitting on the toilet for so long, and I'd just be there and like, and I'd literally say to my friends or Bear, my family, like, we can't go yet, I haven't been to the toilet. And they're like, yeah, but you don't need to go yet, like your body's not ready for you to go yet, like you can go later when you're at home. And I'm like, no, like what happens if there's not a toilet when we're out and about? I haven't been today, so I'm obviously gonna need to go. So I was using Imodium so that wouldn't happen. And then where I was doing that over and over again and straining every single day, I caused myself a chronic anal fissure. Now let me tell you, worst pain in the whole entire world. Sounds dramatic, but I couldn't see life ahead of me if I had to go through that every single day. And that really does sound dramatic, and it's really sad. It's actually really sad when I think back at it, but it's honestly so true. I used to think, what is life if I've got to go through this pain every single day? The only thing I can describe a fissure, basically with an anal fissure, I'm actually going to get the terminology up. An anal fissure is a small tear in the lining of your bum, your bottom, your anus. So symptoms of anal fissure include a sharp pain. Sharp pain? Are you joking? Maybe glass passing through your area down there, shards of the sharpest glass in the whole entire world. The pain made me faint so many times. I was biting into a towel, screaming the house down, crying my eyes out. It was the world's worst thing. Like, honestly, the pain, there's no pain like it. It says an anal fissure usually heals on its own. Not in my case, obviously. Treatment includes avoiding constipation and medicines to reduce pain and speed up the healing. Anal fissures are usually caused by constipation. So I created my anal fissure through my toilet anxiety, giving myself constipation, spending too much time on the toilet and straining, time and time doing that again, obviously was pressured on my bum and caused a massive, horrific tear. And not just a normal anal fissure, it was classed as a chronic anal fissure. So I'm going to talk about blood. Every single time I passed stool, the toilet bowl would be full of blood, pure red blood. Couldn't see anything, even if I hadn't really gone to the toilet much. Just every single time, blood. When I'd wipe, it was just clumps of blood. Every single day this was just going through that, no matter if my stool was runny, because when I went to the doctors I had to go on loads of laxatives to get the stool basically like water, so that I wouldn't need to squeeze or push any pressure on that area. Even when I was like passing water down there, it was just pure blood, throbbing. After passing the stool, I'd then be ruined for the whole day because the pain was like no other. Throbbing, sore, couldn't sit on my bum, had to have like a donut. It was just the world's worst thing. So I was so desperate, like so desperate at the doctors, past the point of even caring. I was up on that bed, I was bent over, like couldn't care who it was looking at me. I was just like, please help me. I took myself to A&E, and I was begging, like literally I was begging for help. I was begging anyone there and then. I was begging the poor lady at the A&E desk. I was like, I just need help. Like, I drove myself there. I was so desperate. I was like, I need help. Please, someone help me. I'll never forget, in the room of the A&E, they had the blood pressure thing on my arm, and where I was so like worked up, the machine was like going off, and then all these nurses came running into the room where I must have been, my blood pressure or whatever that does must have just been bad, because so many people came rushing at the same time. And bless them, they couldn't do anything for me because it was a specialist that I would have to have seen, and at A&E they obviously weren't there. So it was loads of different appointments between my doctor and then the specialist at the hospital. The amount of times I had to pull my pants down and literally bend over, and the amount of people that basically see my bum is funny. It was funny, really, but I was just so desperate for help. So I went through every single cream under the sun. Cream that gives you the world's worst headache. Oh my god, if you know, you know. That cream. I went through suppositories. I went through numbing anesthetic cream to try and numb the area. The amount of laxatives that I was taking, my food diet had to be really strict. I had to have like smoothies and fibre, and that was literally it. The amount of water that I had to drink, it was just an absolute horrible time of my life, like horrible time of my life. Couldn't work, couldn't do anything. I would dread going to sleep at night because I knew when I woke up that meant it was a new day, so I knew that I possibly would need to go to the toilet, and I couldn't literally go on with it. So I was trying all these creams and everything the doctors were saying, and it just wasn't getting any better, because the issue with the anal fissure is it's so hard to heal, because you're obviously going to the toilet every single day. So when you think it might be healing a little bit, you're then passing stool, so then you're aggravating it again, and then you're kind of back to square one. And I was like, is this ever going to heal? Because either I don't eat at all, so I don't go to the toilet, or what? I was like, what is the process here? Is this going to be a forever thing? And they said, look, yours is so bad, you're going to need some sort of surgery. So there were two options. Both were a 2.5 year wait, and I'm not being funny, I couldn't. I physically couldn't. So I had to go privately, and I will talk about costs as well of private, because I know if you're suffering and you see that there's a wait, it can be so detrimental to your mental health knowing you've got to wait 2.5 years. So I was super lucky that my parents helped me out, because I know not everybody's in a position where their parents can help them. My parents helped me pay for this. I rung the Spire, went to the Spire, had to go through the whole process again of, you know, examination, but where it was that bad, she couldn't actually examine me, because she could see straight away, all I had to do was like pull my pants down. She could see straight away the severity of it, and she was like, I'm not even going to bother doing what I'd normally do. Basically, I think they actually like put a finger up your bum and like feel around so they can feel where the tear is, how big it is. She was like, I know how much pain you must be in. She was like, I'm gonna have to put you under to examine you, because I'm not going to be able to, without you literally screaming the whole of the hospital down, I'm not going to be able to see what I need to see. And I was like, oh, thank God. So we decided to do that. So I got put under so she could have an examination of the area, and then it was decided that yes, mine was a severe anal fissure and it wasn't going to get any better with the creams and everything I was doing, so I needed some sort of surgery. So there were two options. The first option was, I'm going to get the terminology for you, I'll leave it on the screen, the name of it, but because I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, but it's called botulinum toxin treatment. So basically Botox in the anal Botox there, and that basically works by reducing the sphincter. Thing is, like, these words mean nothing to me. Basically, I think, I could be wrong, from my understanding, the Botox is used to relax the muscle, which the muscle that you go to the toilet in, and I think by putting the Botox in to relax it, it was going to help speed up the process of healing. So she said to me, because of my age, she would much rather try the Botox first, and then if that didn't work, I would have had to have had a sphincterectomy, which is on the cards at the moment because the Botox didn't really work. It worked a little bit, 100% improved it a little bit, but it's still very much there. Yeah, so that basically was a Botox injected close to or into the internal sphincter muscle. The injection works by causing the muscle to become paralyzed and thereby reducing the amount of spasms or contraction that it undergoes in conjunction with a fissure. This enforces relaxation and allows more blood to the area to heal the fissure. So that is what I had. I'm going to leave the prices on the screen of what it cost. This is going to include the initial consultation, the getting put to sleep, the surgery itself, the staying in the hospital, and a follow-up appointment. So I'll leave that on the screen here because I'll have to go through all my accounts and all that stuff. So yeah, I'll leave that on the screen here. I couldn't recommend Spire enough. I went to Spire in Bristol for it, and I'll leave my surgeon's name on the screen as well. She was brilliant, made me feel really comfortable. I didn't feel embarrassed at all, and you're at the point where you're that desperate, all the embarrassment or anything like that goes out the window. You couldn't give a crap. You're just like, help. Help, help, help. And she's obviously seen 400,000 million bumholes in her life, so mine was just another one to the list. Yeah, so I had that, and I'll just quickly talk to you about how that went. So I went in, I had like all my pre-op done, like where they checked everything, blah blah blah, and then I was put to sleep. So I didn't know anything that was going on. Put to sleep, obviously can't remember anything. Woke up, was numb, like my bottom half of my body was numb. So they obviously like numb your bum and they numb everything down there so you can't feel anything. And she said to me, she was like, yeah, she was like, you had your legs on like to, I don't know, lifting them up. She was like, your legs were right up in the air, your bum was right up, and I was like, oh lovely. There was quite a lot of blood, I remember, when they first made me get up out of bed after to walk. There was quite a lot of blood on the bed, which frightened me a little bit, and I was so scared to go to the toilet. Like the time the toilet was needed next after the surgery, I was so scared. I remember it not being that bad, but I think that was because I was still a little bit numb. Botox and the whole like surgery and everything wasn't bad at all. It definitely took a good couple of, I'd say maybe even like nearly 2 months to see a difference. I was still bleeding, I still had loads of pain when I go to the toilet, but it does take a while for the Botox apparently to get into your system. So yeah, it did take a little while for me to see any kind of benefits from it, but I definitely did, and to this day I definitely think it worked. I know the Botox runs out. Actually, I haven't had it topped up, and I think it's because I am taking laxatives kind of like on a daily basis now, just to make sure everything's as soft as possible, and I'm really watching the fibre in my diet to make sure everything's as soft as possible. And obviously I've stopped using my Imodium and things to make me constipated, so I have it under control with regards to my anal fissure. I can have weeks where it's awfully bad, back to square one, where I'm passing blood, I'm in agony going to the toilet, but it seems to heal a lot quicker than it did before, whereas before it felt like it was never healing at all. So I still struggle with it, and it still can really take over my whole entire week with the pain and the blood. But if we are lucky enough to have children, the surgeon always said to me from the beginning, I want to try and stay away from giving you this sphincterectomy. I'll leave it on the screen what it's called. It's basically like a surgery, like a quite intense surgery, and it can potentially make you incontinent, meaning you have no control at all, which I feel like I have at the moment anyway, because when I'm in that traffic I don't have control. But do you know what I mean? Like, at least I kind of know when I'm going to the toilet, whereas I think that really does make you not have any control or any aware or that it's happening. And she said because if you are lucky enough to have children, sometimes doing that can affect things like that. And it was all kind of like, she really didn't want to do it, and she was like, obviously if we have to, then we will. She said, but we're going to try everything, and we'll keep trying the Botox, and we'll keep with the Botox to trying to, you know, manage it. So that's where I am with that. I know this video is so long because I've obviously spoken about what it is, my experience on it, and I know I haven't really given many tips. So this is going to be the part where I'm going to give you tips about toilet anxiety and what I do to try and help me on it, and what I've been doing over the past years. So I brought a few things to show you. I'm very prepared, and if you've followed me on Instagram, you've probably already seen these little tips. But if you're new and you're stumbling upon this video from typing in toilet anxiety, firstly I'm sorry that you're having to even think about it, because it's awful. But when I was first going through it, I looked, I'll never forget, I was googling anal fissures because I was like, what's happening? And I never forget, I watched this American lady and she was explaining about how she was having the Botox, and it was different because the kind of way they did it and the terminology, I guess being in America, was different, so I didn't really understand. But it was kind of nice to hear somebody and be able to relate to the pain. So hopefully, if the title of this video has led you to stumble across my video, then firstly I'm sorry you're going through it, but hopefully these tips are going to help you. So we're going to first off talk about a card that I carry with me all the time. It is the Just Can't Wait card, and I'll leave all the information down below, and it is free to get. You can have, I don't even know if they do the physical copy anymore, I think they probably do, but you can have it on your phone as well. So like, you know, in your wallet of your phone and you have all your cards and stuff, you can have this on there. And essentially it says on here, the holder of this card has a medical condition and needs to use a toilet quickly, please help. And it's by the bladder and bowel community. This is what it looks like, and then on the back it's just got more details. I just got mine online, it's free to get, so I'll leave the information down below. And for me, I use this as a safety blanket. It gives me, I don't know how to explain it, a bit of peace of mind and safety in my head, knowing that I've got this with me, and if I need to get it out I can, and people will take me seriously if I say, look, I really need to use the toilet. And do you know what, the funny thing is, I've had this years and I've probably only used it 3 times maybe, and I'll never forget, I used it when I went on a girls trip in Edinburgh with the girls, obviously, and it was a match day, there was a rugby match, and it was so busy in this Wetherspoons, and I needed to go because, like I said, my belly plays up when I'm traveling, and I needed to go, and the queue for the toilet was, I've never seen anything like it. And the girls were like, use your card, Claire, and I was like, I can. They were like, well, that's what it's there for. And I was like, yeah, I know, but like all these people are waiting, like maybe I'll go and ask if I can use the disabled toilet. And there was no staff around whatsoever, and I was like, oh god. So yeah, so the girls, bless them, they were like, Claire, you need to use it, you need to go to the toilet, you're getting worked up, come on. So I did. I went to the front of the queue and I said, girls, I'm really sorry, and I just had to, you know. I said, I'm really, really sorry. I said, I didn't want to go, oh, I'm gonna shit myself, you know, like I was like, oh, I got I don't even remember what I said. It was so like, I was like, is there any chance I can just jump in front of you? And I said, it won't be long. And the looks I got, oh, I'll never forget it. It was horrible, and I was just like, oh my god. And I get they were waiting, I absolutely get that. And you know, I think as well, because people obviously had a drink, and you know when you break the seal, I get it, and like it was a long queue, and I understand it, but I was like, I'm not, I was like, I'm not taking the piss either. I was like, I've actually, like, I got a card, like, I've actually got a condition. And like, some of them were like, yeah, no worries. And then some others was like, oh yeah, well, I could say I got a condition. And do you know what? It threw me for a good, like, I was in the toilet just sat there thinking, you nasty people, like, what? Anyway, so don't be put off by that, because that was just, I think that was just the situation I was in. But if you ever feel the need to use this, say for example you're in the shopping centre and the queue's really big, or if you're at the airport, you know, sometimes the airport toilets can be so long, having this with you just gives you that peace of mind. And if you need to use it, you need to use it. I always try and tell myself, I'm never going to see those people again. Like, if I've just jumped in front of them and, you know, pissed them off, I'm never going to see them again. And half the time the people are lovely. Well, probably 90% of the time the people are lovely, because any condition, you know, you're always trying to do what you can. Well, I am, and certainly all my friends and family will do what we can to make that person feel comfortable, you know, and you do anything you can to make it easier for somebody you can see struggling. So 90% of the time everyone's like, oh my god, of course, really understandable. So just use it, just have it on you, and knowing I've got it on me helps me, because I know I can use it if I need it, and I know it's there. Also, my mum recently got me these, bless her. I haven't tried them out yet, but they're basically like discreet pads. And I know they're mainly used for like needing a wee, or having like a weak bladder, or I don't know, periods and stuff. But I could put it like that region, like I could wear it like in my pants but on my bum, rather than, you know, down there. And apparently they're really, really good, and they're really absorbable. So again, for me, this would be a comfort thing, knowing that I've got something in if I'm stuck in traffic, or if I'm in a situation where there's no toilet. I wouldn't be in as much of a mess as I would be if I would just wear my normal pants. So these are from Morrison's. They are called the discreet pads. It says on here for bladder weakness, but I think you could probably pop them, you know, where your bum is, and it would just make you feel a little bit more relaxed. And then my next tip is the app called Flush. I will leave on the screen what it looks like. This app will tell you where the nearest public toilet is in the area that you are. So say you're in a new area and you need the toilet, but you don't know where the toilets are. You'll share your location with it, and it will tell you where the nearest toilets are. So whether that's like a public toilet, or whether that's a toilet in, you know, a shopping mall or something like that, it will give you a list of the toilets. It's absolutely typical. The time I want to show you the app, it's doing that thing where it needs to re-upload. Anyway, I'll leave it all on the screen here, but yeah, basically you just type in your location and then it will tell you where the nearest toilet is. So that really, really helps me. And then another tip I've got is just giving yourself plenty of time before you're leaving anywhere. I feel like when I've got a little bit more time on my schedule of where I need to be, at least I know if I need to stop in a services, then I've got the time to. I feel like when I'm in a rush, that is also when my belly gets really bad, because I know I've got to be somewhere at a certain time. So then of course my belly's going to need the toilet, because I need to be at that place at a certain time, but then I need to go to the toilet. Whereas some people could literally just hold in, go to the toilet and do it when they get there. But if I need to be somewhere at a certain time and I haven't got that time, I will need to go to the toilet so many times in between. Just planning anything I'm doing with plenty of time. And then also I found when it comes to traffic or trying to take my mind off things, podcasts really, really help me, or just having something on in the background that I can try and concentrate on. For example, if I'm driving and there's traffic, Bear or my friends or my family, they'll try and talk to me and they'll try and come up with conversations to try and keep me busy. But I'm that anxious, I'm that worked up, I cannot get involved in any conversation, and I just zone out completely. I literally zone out, and all I'm doing is concentrating on holding my poo in. Like, that is it in black and white, blunt as it can get. That is all I'm doing. I'm concentrating on, I literally squeeze onto the steering wheel, bless it, so tight so many times, because I need to kind of like feel some kind of sensation. Oh, also, whilst I think about it, sensation wise, I found when I'm on a hotel transfer, if I've got something ice cold, like an ice cold bottle of water, and I'm feeling like I need to go to the toilet, I like to put like that sensation of the cold on my belly to give my body kind of like a shock of something else, of a feeling, if that makes sense. They say you should like pinch and you could like tap and hum and stuff, but I find sometimes having like a shock to my body, like of the feeling of an ice cold on my belly, has helped me kind of ease the feeling of needing to go to the toilet. So try that if you haven't already. But yeah, just give myself plenty of time, distracting myself where I can, obviously when it's safe to do so. So if I'm driving, I'll pop on my podcast before I leave, and I can just try and really get involved within listening to whatever they're chatting about, rather than focusing on needing the toilet. And then just planning out any journey that I've got that maybe I've not done before, and knowing how many services there are, just so I know I can go to them if I need to. And I think what really helps me is just making people aware that you have, I guess, this condition. So if you're with somebody new, just letting them know, like, look, I have this thing where I panic if there's not a toilet nearby. So if I suddenly go off somewhere and I haven't told you where I've gone, or if I suddenly, you know, seem a little bit not myself, that might be why, because I'm feeling a little bit anxious about needing the toilet. And yeah, I think when you tell people about it, or you're with people you know and that love you, it is definitely a lot easier, because you know that they're, one, never going to judge you if you need to ask them to pull over so you can use the toilet. They're always going to do that. And two, you should never feel embarrassed anyway, because it's no different to any other, I guess, condition that someone may have. It is real life, and it can be life-changing for people. And I've spoken to so many people on Instagram about it before, and I'm lucky in the sense that I can still get out and do things, but for some it does really take a toll, and they feel like they can't even leave the house, which is just awful. I'm so sorry for all of you, and I want to do everything I can to try and figure some sort of cure out, or find some sort of hypnotherapist, that's the right word, I think, that can help us all, because like I said, it really does affect people's lives on a daily basis, and something that affects me really bad every single day. So yeah, this video I know has been a long one, and I don't really know what I've said. I hope I've not upset anyone and said anything wrong. I hope I've not used any of the wrong terminology. I'm just speaking on behalf of what I've gone through and what's helped me, what hasn't helped me, how I've dealt with things. Everybody's obviously different, and people, the way I've been affected by it is probably minuscule compared to some people, but it was still massive for me, because it was one of the worst things I've ever gone through. And yeah, I hope this video has spread a little bit of awareness as well about toilet anxiety and anal fissures, and the severity of them, and how you can cause yourself so much pain. So please, if you're like me and you're listening to me and you hear yourself in me with regards to using Imodium and sitting on the toilet, please don't, because I wouldn't even wish my worst enemy on the whole entire world an anal fissure, because it's excruciating. I hope this video has helped. I wanted to talk about it, I wanted to explain about it. If you're suffering, I hope you know that you're not alone. My emails or my Instagram messages are always open if you want to talk about it, and I hope this video has helped somebody. I hope that potentially, selfishly, it might be able to help me with somebody giving me some kind of recommendation on what I can do to not obviously get over it, because I know it's not going to go away. I know it's something that I'm going to live with forever, but cope with it and maybe ease it a little bit. If anyone can recommend any hypnotherapists or anything else that you think might help me, I would be entirely grateful. I'll be so grateful. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. A little bit different from me, but I wanted to touch on it because it is part of my everyday life, unfortunately. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video, and I hope you're well, and treat yourself to a coffee today. I've got a iced skinny latte with sugar-free caramel syrup, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye.